Hey everyone, welcome back to Analyze with Casey, where we don't just react to healthcare headlines, we slow down and do the research. So, let me tell you about my son Phoenix. We've had him since he was 2 months old through foster care and officially adopted him in October of 2022.
I
He's
love
technically my
you.
cousin, and my mom raised his older siblings. Phoenix came into our lives with a
Oh,
rocky start. He
yay.
was born
You want to
exposed to
swing?
methamphetamines. He had
You
trouble
want to swing?
eating. He was a silent
Swing,
aspirator. We
swing.
had to thicken his liquids with
Oh, you're
Gerber
making
rice.
funny
Because of his
faces.
feeding challenges, he
Do
stayed
you
on
want to
baby
swing,
food
swing?
longer than
Oh,
most.
hug. Oh, hug.
He didn't start
You want to
eating whole
swing?
foods until after he
Hug.
was 1 year old.
Hug.
By the time he was around 2, we received the
Hug.
official diagnosis we had
Hug.
suspected: autism spectrum disorder. And in
Hug.
October of 2022, we finalized the adoption.
Hug.
It was one of the
You want to
happiest days of
swing?
our lives. Since then, like so many other families, we've been on a journey not to cure Phoenix, because that's not how autism works, but to understand how to support him, help him thrive, and make decisions that protect his health and safety. And that brings us to the reason for this video. Like so many parents, I've spent hours online researching autism, nutrition, probiotics, and supplements. And sometimes those rabbit holes lead you to glowing claims, products that promise support for behavior, gut health, speech, and even attention. But they often come with no real testing, no FDA regulation, and sometimes a lot of controversy. Today, I want to ask the same question I once asked myself. Well, what's trying a new supplement going to hurt? And I want to walk you through what I found when I really started digging in. No yelling, no drama, just data, love, and a commitment to safety over hype. Because Phoenix's life, just as it is too valuable to risk on untested promises. Truth 1: autism supplements aren't regulated like medications. Here's something most people don't realize: vitamins and supplements in the United States are not regulated the same way prescription drugs are. FDA doesn't test most supplements for safety, quality, or effectiveness before they hit store shelves. A company can mix up a blend of ingredients, bottle it, and start selling it without proving it actually works or even that the label is accurate. And that can be dangerous. One large study published in JAMA Network Open reviewed nearly 800 supplements flagged by the FDA over a 10-year period. Researchers found that many of them secretly contained hidden drug ingredients, things like steroids, sexual enhancement drugs, or weight loss meds. Some even had multiple risky ingredients that weren't listed on the label. Another report by the CDC, shared in Time magazine, found that supplements send over 23,000 people to the emergency room every year, including young people with heart problems, allergic reactions, or choking hazards. So when a company says all natural or safe but hasn't done independent testing or submitted anything to the FDA, you're just taking their word for it. That's a problem when we're talking about giving these to kids, especially kids with autism, who may already have sensitive systems or trouble communicating if something feels wrong. Truth 2: some supplements show promise, but only in specific contexts. When I first started researching supplements for my son, I found a lot of bold claims online, some saying probiotics could heal the gut or even reduce autism symptoms. Naturally, I wanted to know, is there actually any science behind that? Surprisingly, yes. There is some research showing benefits. A 2024 meta analysis, that means a study that combines results from many other studies, looked at how probiotics affected children and young adults with autism. The researchers found that probiotics, especially multi strain ones, taken for more than 3 months, led to small but meaningful improvements in behavior, especially in things like irritability and social engagement. Children who took probiotics showed better adaptation, less anxiety, and improved gut function compared to the placebo group. So, are probiotics helpful? Potentially, yes. But should we treat them like medicine? Not yet. These studies all say the same thing in the conclusion: more research is needed. They didn't study long term effects, and they didn't use the same brands or doses. That means we can't say for sure which probiotic works best or whether they're truly safe for every child. Also, probiotics are just one piece of the puzzle. None of the studies show that they cure autism or dramatically change core traits like communication or sensory processing. So, the bottom line, some supplements may help ease certain challenges, but that doesn't mean they're magic pills, and they still need to be used with care. Truth three, the gut brain connection is real, but also complex. So let's talk about something that comes up a lot in autism parenting circles: leaky gut. Now, leaky gut sounds dramatic, like your child's insides are falling apart, but what it really refers to is something called intestinal permeability. That just means the lining of the gut isn't doing a great job keeping things where they belong. Our intestines are supposed to act like a coffee filter, letting nutrients through, but keeping toxins, bacteria, and undigested food out of the bloodstream. But in some people, including some people with autism, that filter might get a little porous. When that happens, it can lead to inflammation and all kinds of symptoms: stomach pain, diarrhea, behavioral changes, and even skin issues. Here's the tricky part: the gut and the brain talk to each other a lot. Scientists call this the gut brain axis, and it's a two-way street. So when the gut is inflamed or out of balance, it can sometimes affect things like mood, anxiety, focus, or sleep. That's why some researchers believe there may be a connection between gut health and certain autism symptoms. But here's the important thing: this doesn't mean poor gut health causes autism. That idea is outdated and not supported by current science. Autism is primarily genetic. What we are seeing, though, is that many autistic kids have feeding challenges like RFID, avoidant restrictive food intake disorder. Kids with RFID often have very limited diets like white foods, dry textures, same few meals over and over. And when that happens, the gut can miss out on the nutrients and fiber it needs to stay healthy. This creates a cycle. Autism symptoms make eating hard, limited diet affects gut bacteria, poor gut health adds stress to the body, more stress can make behavior worse. This is what researchers call a self reinforcing loop, and it's one of the most convincing arguments I've found for why we should care about gut health in autistic kids. Not because it's a cure, but because it can impact the quality of life. Studies show that kids with autism and RFID often have fewer helpful gut bacteria, like bifidobacterium. They may have more inflammatory bacteria, like enterobacteriaceae. And this imbalance is called gut dysbiosis. It can increase anxiety and irritability and digestive issues. Some probiotics, especially multi strain types, have shown promise in gently improving that balance. But again, it's not about fixing autism, it's about giving the gut the support it needs so the rest of the body and brain can function a little more smoothly. So, where does that leave us parents? We're not trying to chase miracle cures. We're trying to help our kids feel better inside and out. And that means looking at the whole picture: gut health, diet variety, anxiety, sensory needs, and yes, sometimes supplements, but only with guidance. Truth four, not all supplements are equal. Some have been dangerous. Let's talk about one of the most controversial topics in the autism world: detox treatments. If you're like me, once your child is diagnosed, your social media feed suddenly becomes a flood of ads and parent testimonials. They promise to remove toxins, flush out metals, reverse symptoms. Some even use words like recovery or detox protocols. And if you're worried about things like heavy metals in food or the environment like I am, those messages can be really tempting. But here's what I've learned: detox doesn't mean safe. Most of these treatments are not backed by science, they're not reviewed by the FDA, and they can actually harm your child. Let's start with one of the most talked about treatments: chelation therapy. Chelation is a medical procedure used to treat real diagnosed heavy metal poisoning, like lead exposure. It works by pulling metals out of the bloodstream. But here's the truth: using it for autism is dangerous. In 2005, A 5-year-old autistic boy died after receiving a chelation agent called disodium EDTA. It caused a fatal drop in calcium, which led to cardiac arrest. The doctor who administered it wasn't treating actual metal poisoning, just following a detox protocol. And that little boy lost his life. Other risky detox products. Chelation isn't the only detox danger. Let me walk you through a few others that are still being marketed to parents. Chlorine dioxide, also called MMS. This is literally industrial bleach, and yet some groups push it as a cure. They tell parents to give it orally as enemas or in a bath. It's abusive and illegal. Zeolite, bentonite, clay, and charcoal detoxes. These are marketed as natural detoxifiers that bind to metals in the body. But here's the issue: some products contain contaminants themselves. Others block nutrient absorption, especially in minerals like iron and zinc. And none of them have been proven to help autistic children. Detox foot pads and baths, despite what the watercolor might suggest, those foot baths are just reacting to salt and sweat. Studies have shown no evidence they remove toxins. Why detox sounds convincing, but it isn't. Let's be real. It's scary to think your child is struggling and there might be something in their body causing harm, especially when autism is misunderstood or when you feel let down by the system. But detox rely on fear-based marketing, not medical facts. There's no proven link between autism and toxins that can be flushed out of the body. And detoxes, especially the aggressive ones, can actually cause electrolyte imbalances, organ damage, developmental regression, and in some tragic cases, death. So, what actually helps? Behavioral therapy, speech language support, occupational therapy, and balanced nutrition. And if you're exploring supplements, do it with your doctor, not a Facebook group. There's no detox pill that can rewire a child's brain, and autism isn't something to flush out. Truth 5. Not every test or supplement is worth doing. I started hearing a lot about something called the MTHFR gene. Some parents said it was the real cause of autism. Others were giving their kids special vitamins based on it, like methylated folate or B12 drops. I didn't want to miss anything important, so I looked into it. So, what is the MTHFR? MTHFR is a gene that helps your body use folate, a kind of B vitamin your body needs for things like brain development and DNA repair. There are some common variations in this gene. The most talked about one is called C677T. But here's the thing: most people have some version of this gene. According to the CDC and genetic studies, about 40% of people in the United States have one copy of this variant. Around 10 to 15 have two copies. So it's really common, not rare or dangerous itself. And just having a variant doesn't mean you'll get autism or that a supplement will help. What the research says: one big study, a meta analysis published in BMC Pediatrics, looked at whether MTHFR C677T is more common in kids with autism. They found a small connection, but not strong enough to say it's the cause. It's a piece of a much bigger puzzle. So when companies sell expensive tests or supplements based on your MTHFR type, be cautious. The American Academy of Pediatrics even put out a warning. Most of these tests and treatments aren't helpful, and some could even be harmful. What should parents do? If you're ever unsure, bring it to your child's doctor. A good provider will walk you through whether testing is even necessary, what the results would change if anything, and if a supplement would make sense for your child, not just based on a gene, but based on real symptoms and needs. Because supplements aren't one size fits all, and neither is autism. Let's be clear: Phoenix isn't broken. He doesn't need to be fixed or detoxed. What he needs and what your child needs is love, support, and evidence-based care. That's why I'm doing this episode. Not to shame parents, not to argue, but to give you what I wish I had early on: a calm voice in the storm, saying you're not wrong to want help, but you deserve the truth. I'm not against supplements. In fact, here's what I plan to ask our developmental pediatrician at Phoenix's next checkup. Should we do vitamin and mineral deficiency testing? Okay, if you've tried a probiotic for your autistic child that checks all the boxes, multi strain, used in clinical research, and third party tested by NSF or USP, I'd really love to hear from you. What brand did you try? What did you notice, if anything? Drop it in the comments or send me a message. I'm not looking for miracle stories, just honest experiences from fellow parents trying to make informed, safe decisions for our kids. I don't care about being right. I care about what's safest for my child. Autism doesn't need a cure, but if there's something that can help Phoenix thrive, sleep better, eat better, regulate better, I'm open to learning. With one condition, it can't be risky. His life is too valuable. He's nobody's guinea pig. So, if you're considering supplements for your child, here's my best advice. Ask your doctor, do your research, bring the questions, bring the studies, and whatever you try, make sure it's grounded in science, not just hope.